Hey, it's your boy, Sergeant Hooked on Heroes, with another review/recap for King-Ohger, this time episode 2. Um, Overall, really good episode. I like that, hopefully, the trend we're getting here is as we're meeting each member of the team, we're starting to get a sense of their country and how it works, how the people live, how they interact with the king, queen, whoever they are, leader, and just in general how unique they are from, like, Shugodam, which is the first place we saw, beginning in the first episode. This one jumps right off from the last episode, and Gira is being arrested by the palace guards. They're supposed to be brought out. He's supposed to be brought out to the palace because he stole the Ohsama caliber and he kind of attacked the king. And Yama saves him. Says, "Hey, I have a beef with him too. Why don't you come with me?" Takes him in Tombo, Shoe God Tombo, and leaves. And Gira's like, what's going on? Why are you doing this? He's like, I don't really like Rockleys all that much, and I think you deserve a second chance. So let's go. And so he takes him to Nikospa, which is the land that he leads as president. It's a technology-based land. Everybody there is like super like techie, like their clothes look like straight like what we thought of what the future would look like in the 90s type of thing. And everybody has a laptop, and apparently there they don't solve conflicts by fighting with each other physically. They solve conflicts by hacking each other. Okay, which makes sense to the description for Yanma that said that he rose to power by hacking, basically. He started in the slums and rose to power through hacking, like through skill on a laptop. So he's bringing him with him mainly because he wants to know how he was able to activate King-Ohger. That it should have been him doing it because he has the tech on his side and he's the one that converted everything, doesn't understand why it happened. And even Garrus is like, oh, am I special? And he's like, don't go that far. But they are called out by Rockleys, who gives them an ultimatum. He says, Yama, you must first off surrender the prisoner Gira. Then you must get on your hands and knees and bow to me and apologize to me for disrespecting me in my own kingdom. To which Yama isn't so sure he's going to do, and they're going to some time to think about it. But before they can think about it too much, we get the Bugnarok attacking Nikospa, right? So it's mostly the Sanajim, which are the little like worker ant what are they called? Minions. And pretty cool fight scene. Him and King-Ohger, Gira, working together, transforming and working together. We also see him using the King's weapon for the first time, which is pretty cool. At one point, Gira does take it from him and uses it himself and combines it with his sword and becomes like a dual-sided like spear type thing. It's pretty cool. Other little details that are nice is that the Sanajim, when they fire their little guns, shoot out tinier Sanajim as the bullets. And also, they sort of bleed when they're attacked, which I think is unique for a Sentai. Usually, you don't see a lot of that. But anyway, they're mostly held off, and then in comes Desnarak and Kanajim, right? So Desnarak is the leader. Kanajim is the one that makes the monsters big. And he says, he introduces who they are. He says, I'm the leader of the Bugnarok, and you are the ones that are, interacting with the Shoe Gods. They are known as one of the greatest treasures in the universe. Bring them to me or else. Gives them an ultimatum. Gives them by sundown to get the Shoe Gods to him. And Yama's kind of unaffected and doesn't really care all that much. But Gira's like, we'll never do that and blah, blah, blah. And so afterwards, they are kind of accosted by the civilians of Nikospa who are pissed because Yama so quickly sort of agreed or didn't disagree with the terms of, surrendering over Gira and in general kind of bowing down and everything. So they're pissed about that. And so it starts out as one guy hack dueling him, and then it turns into two, then it turns into three, then it turns into the whole crowd, and it's just them furiously typing on their laptops. And then like a bunch of zaps and spark packs go off, and then their laptops are destroyed. It's Sentai. But it's really cool and fascinating to see the juxtaposition between this high-tech society and what we saw in Shugodam, which is more of like a medieval society, and that they exist in the same world. Again, it's really unique seeing the differences between the people, and makes you question and wonder why these leaders were chosen to be their leaders. I mean, clearly he was, because he was the highest skilled in his computer and rose to the top power-wise and blah, blah, blah. But, he basically tells Gira there is no power structure in, social hierarchy power structure in Nikospa. Basically, all our squabbles are solved through hacking, through technology. We're all equal. We're all on the same team. And so, Gira talks to him, and he's like, well, we have to be careful with your people. Like, if you don't, you need to listen to Rockley's. If you don't bow down to him and give me over as a prisoner, he's going to destroy your people. And he acts like he doesn't care. And Gary's like, I don't know about that. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, I think you do care. He's like, I think if you're that willing to sacrifice your people, then I'm going to be just as opposed to you as I am to Rockley's. I don't think you want that. And essentially trying to help, like, Yama realize that, like, the people are more important to him than he thinks. Because the majority of the episode, the people he keeps, like, interacting with, keeps calling them sloppy tanukis and, like, saying they're idiots, basically. But, I like the juxtaposition here between Yama and Gira, that Yama is more, like, less emotional, more tactful, and is, like, slowly starting to understand why it's okay to care about others that are working with you. He has a second-in-command person who is working on a pill bug, shoe god, mecha. He kind of just shoves him off eventually. It's kind of rude. But yeah, so Gira essentially says that because at one point he questions Gira. He's like, I don't think you're evil. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, I think you're playing it. He's like, no, I am. And if you don't, let me go now, I'll, activate King-Ohger and, start attacking Nikospa. And Yama goes, do it. Gira's like, what? And he's like, do it. Go ahead. Love to see you try. Because he doesn't believe Gira that he's actually as evil as he is. So Gira straight reveals to Yama, though, what Rockley's told him, that Rockley's is willing to sacrifice his own people for his own ends, that he wishes to unite the kingdoms in the way of him being leader of all of those kingdoms and squashing out any resistance and gaining power, and that's wrong. And Yama, tries at first to dismiss it, then he believes it, but again, it's just kind of being a dick about his people, and that's when I said, when Gira mentions the whole thing, like, well, yeah, right now I'm just against Rockley's, but if that's how you're going to act, I'll be just as opposed to you as I am to Rockley's. So they come up with this plan, and they tie up Gira, and they bring him to where they're going to do the promise to, to Rockley's. And Yama acts like he's going to do it, and the people are kind of upset, and they're like, oh, they're crying, some are angry, whatever. And as soon as he goes to bow down, he gets up, and he's like, but actually maybe not. And just, like, completely refuses to, and he unties Gira. And the people love it, that he, like, acted like, like, tricked them, you got pranked, bro. They get a kick out of it. And so they transform, they fight, we get King-Ohger, along with a giant monster to fight, of course. And King-Ohger gets to use Tambo Chugad's flying ability this time. And at one point, Yama actually calls out to the people to hack the power grid for the country and put all the power into King-Ohger so it can use it to attack with. They do so. His one second-in-command person activates the Pillbug hammer, and they do a finishing attack with that, destroy the monster. Bugnarak leave, and so do Rockley's forces as well. And Gira gets out after they're done. They untransform, and he's like, hey, what was that all about? He kind of explains to him a little bit, again, about the power structure, that there is no real power structure here socially like there is in other places. They were impressed by, me standing up to him, even though it could mean their destruction. They still were impressed by me being that defiant. That's why they respect me as their leader. And Gira essentially says, like, oh, you're willing to kind of manipulate a little bit and, snake your way around like that. You are kind of evil. I would love for you to be part of my team. And Yama's like, nah, I'm all good. And then here comes Kamakiri Ohger, along with Kamakiri Shoe God, and kidnaps both of them. Ends the episode. So overall, it's a pretty good episode. I like that we get some bit of back and forth between Gira and Yama, which I'm sure isn't going to stop throughout the whole series. I feel like they're going to be pretty opposed at certain points to each other. I'm fascinated to see, once the whole team comes together, why they would allow somebody to lead their team, even though they're all leaders. So I think it's going to be a majority of their conflict at first. But it is cool to see, Yama in his element, in his country, showing off, how his people work and what he can do and what they can do. And I like that the civilians weren't just cannon fodder. They weren't just meaningless side characters to be part of the plot and then they're shoved off during the fights. They actually were kind of part of things, and I thought that was really cool. So yeah, so overall, really decent episode. If I had to score it, probably around like a 9 out of 10 or so. Not as, like, jaw-dropping as the premiere episode was, but still a pretty decent episode, and I think very entertaining, to say the least. Again, I'm loving this aesthetic of, like, going to each of these countries with Gira, and he's kind of like the self-insert for the audience to learn about these different kingdoms and their leader before they eventually join his team. Funny thing here, a little spoiler thing kind of, but the actor said it himself, so I guess if you didn't see it, then click off the video now. But in some interview, they're like, "Who do you play in King-Ohger?" He goes, "Oh, yep, I play Gira Hasty." Hasty is the last name of Rockley's, so he revealed that somehow he's connected in some way related to royal blood. So we don't know exactly what that means. If it's like a long lost brother, a niece, a long lost brother, a nephew, a son, whatever it is. Somehow he's connected to the royal blood. That must be why he can use the Ohsama caliber. So kind of funny, kind of unique that he said that within like an interview. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really, really like digging the suits even more. I already loved them when I first saw them, and every episode I watch now, or every time I watch an episode that's already been out, I get more and more used to it and with it in terms of the design. Yeah, pretty good episode overall. But let me know in the comments below, what did you guys think of this week's episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? We're in the middle. As far as content this week, clearly Geats 27 and King-Ohger episode 3, once those premiere and are out there with subtitles, of course. For Henshins and Homies, just this week Friday, we had Marco Satsu on talking about our favorite tokusatsu video games, and then also our favorite villains. So we did that, and then next week we won't have an episode because we will be on the Tokusatsu Showdown again. This is going to be a 3v3 basically, redemption arc basically. So me, Squall, and Thomas versus Frankie, Stick, and Alsace Antoine Christian. In a redemption arc thing where if they win, then they redeem themselves, get their names back on the board, we're kicked off, or if we win, we stay on the board and they're kicked out. So should be pretty fun. Little 3v3 competition there with the normal way that Tokusatsu Showdown is set up with, trivia and trying to, show your stuff in terms of your knowledge about Sentai and Rider. So yeah, should be pretty fun. Should be next week, Saturday around like 6 p.m. or so Eastern Standard Time. So check out for links for that to be able to watch that and everything. It should be a lot of fun. But until next time, you guys stay hooked on them heroes. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.